Hey guys, I'm Kelli Marks with Sweet Love Bakery, and today I'm making a not so derby pie. I don't know if you know, but the derby pie is trademarked, so that's not what this is.
It's not a derby pie. If it looks like a derby pie,
smells like a derby pie, tastes like a derby pie,
quacks like a derby pie.
It's not a derby pie. So what I've got in here is 2 cups of flour, a tablespoon of sugar, and half teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to get that going. And then what I have here is butter that is frozen and grated, and that's going to help us get little bits of butter all throughout. I've also got a 1/4 cup of shortening. I like to do a combination of shortening and butter in my crusts. It's just going to make it very tender. 1 egg yolk, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and then we've got vodka. Now, if you don't want to put vodka in your pie crust, you don't have to. It's just going to evaporate a lot quicker than water is, so you can substitute this for some water. And once it starts pulling together like this, we're going to add our pecan bits. So I've got 1/2 cup of pecan. I'm all about convenience when I am baking. One of the things I like to do is roll it between 2 layers of saran wrap, and that way it's not going to stick to your table, and you can use the bottom layer to pick it up and flip it into your pie tin. I'm just going to cut some circles out that'll kind of help give me a guideline to lift and put into the pie tins. All right, guys, 1 down, 192 more to go. So the next step, now that we've got all of our pie crusts ready to go, we're going to make our filling. And I've got in this bowl 3 eggs and a 1/4 cup of butter. You can either melt it or just have it really soft. This one's pretty soft, it's fairly warm in here. And we're just gonna start whisking it together with our sugars. It's a total of 1 cup. We've got 2/3 cup of white sugar and then 1/3 cup of brown sugar. That brown sugar is gonna add kind of some richness to it, a little bit of a warmth that we really want in this pie. Next up, I've got a tablespoon of cornstarch, and this is just going to help that pie thicken a little bit. Next up, we've got 3/4 of a cup of corn syrup. I like to use a light corn syrup as opposed to a dark. For this event, I actually bought the honey bourbon, which I thought was going to be really, really nice. And while it is delicious, it was very mild when I baked it. And we've got a lot of sweetness going on with the sugar, the little bit of sweetness in the crust, and then the chocolate that we're going to do on top. And it just kind of made the pie a little bit cloying. If you don't like a strong punch of bourbon, you could definitely use something like this, but we like the punch. It's going to counter everything really well. So we need a 1/4 cup of that.
Did we just put Fireball in it?
No Fireball. No. And then we're just going to give it a little splash of vanilla. Instead of putting the pecans into the syrup and mixing it all up, is I just put them directly into the bottom of the crusts. So we need about a 1/4 cup. You just kind of want to eyeball it into these little tartlets. If you're doing a whole pie, you want a cup and a half. And now we're just gonna pour some of this in here. And it's about, again, about a 1/4 cup of syrup is gonna go on top of the pecans. We just wanna come up kind of to the edge of our flute. We don't want it to bake up over, and also we wanna have a little bit of room for the chocolate that we're gonna pour on top. And these guys are ready for the oven. We're gonna put them in at 350. For the small ones, we're gonna start watching them at about 25 minutes. If you're doing a large pie, you wanna start checking it at around the 45-50 minute mark. While our pies are in the oven, I'm gonna go ahead and get our ganache going. Ganache is just, it's a combination of chocolate and heavy cream, and it's got all kinds of different uses. So today we're using it to kind of glaze the top of our pie, but you could actually set this up and use it as a filling for truffles. You can top cakes with it, ice with it, whip it, and then, you know, decorate cupcakes with it. It's got so many uses and I love it. So we've got a cup of cream that we're gonna heat on the stove, and then we're gonna use about 1.5 cups of this chocolate. The higher quality chocolate, the better, but if all you've got sitting around the house are some leftover chocolate chips, that's fine too, really. There's no shame in my chocolate game. I will eat anything. All we're gonna do here is pour this hot cream directly over the chocolate, and it's going to melt it. You could add a little bit of salt. I always like to add salt to my desserts. It's gonna help counter any of the sweetness that we've got going on. It just kind of rounds out the chocolate flavor. We could also add a little splash of vanilla, which I'm gonna do because I've got it right here. I'm just gonna whisk it a bit, and you can see that it's starting to get some really nice dark streaks in there where everything is melting and coming together. And that's what we're looking for. This is my favorite way to make whipped cream. So after about 30 seconds, you can see it's already starting to get a little bit thick right here, giving me some resistance. So now I'm just gonna add a little bit of powdered sugar. So I've got about a cup of whipped cream in here, and probably like 2 tablespoons powdered sugar.
All right, that's the most awesome thing today.
Isn't it the best? 30-second whipped cream. Done.
I've got one. I can make 2 of those at one time.
These are ready to go. Let's get some ganache on them. Just kind of let that drizzle all over the top. Smooth it around. And just a little bit of that fresh whipped cream right on top. This is our not so derby pie, and this is your final course.